Yes, yes, yes. Once again, we have the Reentry Connect podcast here live and direct. We're here to share a lot of information about reentry, about post release, about things that go on out here in the world that we just don't understand. But we're here to bring awareness, clarity, and some of our perspectives of different things concerning reentry. However, tonight we're going to be touching on some things, trying to understand why don't we learn our lessons, early on in life. I know that I can speak for myself that even though I was taught to do right, I was taught to, not do the wrong thing, the wrong things. I still wind up doing them anyway. I was hard headed. I was the one that always was into something. I had the ADHD. I was always in fights in school. I was getting kicked out. They were putting me on the Ritalin. I was losing my mind. Of course, that's what they were saying, but I was still intelligent. I was still smart. But I'm just trying to figure out, like, why don't we learn those lessons early on in life? And before we get going here, I want to introduce Mr. Tony Lee, a good brother of mine. Telling you, this man been through a lot in life, and we're going to be sharing a lot, between me and him, sharing our life stories, So we just going to spin the track real quick. Again, those who don't know about spinning the track, that's a terminology that we use once you're in prison. You use in prison, just to spin the track, just to vent, to talk about things that's on your mind, things that you're going to do when you hit the streets and things like that. So that's what we're going to do tonight, spin the track Wednesdays. So Tony Lee, tell me in your little own words, you know what I'm saying? Like, why don't, we just in general, even as kids, why don't we learn lessons early on, that leads up to going to prison? Like, I know everybody has different backgrounds. We all come up with different upbringings. Some struggle, some people don't struggle. Some people have good lives, but then some people some other people are unfortunate. So tell me in your own words, why did you get in trouble eventually later on in life? Did anything lead up to that, or were you just a menace all your life?
Okay, no. So for me personally, I was a straight A student, straight A and B student all through school. I went to Cassidy Elementary School. I went to Bieber Middle School. So I had a lot of structure growing up. I wasn't allowed to go around like the other kids was and run in the neighborhood. Like I went to school, I had to come straight home from school. And I was raised by a teacher and an officer, so I wasn't really like other kids anyway. Now, for
Wow.
me personally, where I feel like I went wrong at, I caught a best friend. No, I don't say no names, but I caught a best friend in fifth grade. So basically, I looked up to this person. This particular person was a year behind in school at that time,
Yeah.
and they didn't belong in fifth grade. They belonged in sixth grade. You know what I mean? So they was bigger than everybody else, stronger than everybody else. Just their whole swag, their whole level. Plus, they were exposed. Now I had to realize this also now that I'm grown. Their household was exposed to way more than it was supposed to for a child that age. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
And he was bringing all that to school. So when he
Mm-hmm.
was bringing it to school, that's what infatuated me, seeing that, you know what I mean, and really trying to clone that. You know what I mean? He knew how to draw better. He knew how to fight. He knew how to rap and poet. And he knew how to play ball better. And the girls liked him. He had a fresh haircut. He had the best motor control car. He had the newest games as soon as they came out because he had bigger brothers. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
experience he was getting fast, he was passing it off when he was coming to school, and I was picking it up. So that's
Mm.
what led me to like at first that was the first step to me being defiant and not listening to the structure that was put in place for me to be successful.
So you had a structure coming up, but what drove you away a little bit was the influences of another person or another family
Yeah.
that may have been flashing or had a little more than you that
Hmm.
seemed very appealing to the eye.
Yes.
So what seems to me is that there was some form of peer pressure or some type of influential matter
Yeah.
that drew you in.
Hmm. So then at
So,
that made me
uh-huh.
run away from home. Then I end up in the group homes, thinking that if I ran away from home, that I would be able to live like he's living. But that just wasn't.
But why did you run away from home?
Well, I was being abused when I was earlier, just from stuff like that, staying out later, not coming straight home from school, running around with him. laughing in classroom, playing with him in class. But he go home and it's nothing for him. When I go home, I'm getting beat for that. You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody know that at first though. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it was two
Wow.
different households, like two different structures. And I'm telling him about what's going on with me. He's telling his mom, and his mom's telling me, you know, like you're a beautiful child. You shouldn't be getting abused like this. Should nobody be putting their hands on you, like you know?
Mm.
And that's when I rebelled against that and ran away from the abuse, which was the structure, just to run around and try to do what I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
Got you. Because I can remember growing up, having, I was a single mother, single parent household,
Mm-hmm.
which I had it was my mother, my father eventually, um, he went to prison. He was caught up, in the crack era.
Mm-hmm.
So he was gone when I was like 4 years of age. But here it is. I still had my grandmom. I had my aunts and my uncles. However, I never had like a steady, well, not even, I never had a role model. I never had nobody to look after everything that I've learned, masculinity, everything, know how to fight. All this stuff came from in the streets, fighting around, amongst our peers and things like that. So, but however, the code of ethics, or more so the moral ethics in which my grandmother bestowed, um, was of good deeds. You know what I mean? You learn your yes, your please, your thank you, and you taught these things. And even till this day, I still, well mannered. The same way I can see you're well mannered as well. However, we all got another side. You know what I'm saying? That can erupt, or that can change. But it's like, when we think about it, it's like, that, where did that side come from? But again, like you said, there was things that trickled all the way up to the point of when we started running away from home. We started, getting in trouble with the law and things like that. So once you ran away from the law, or excuse me, when you started running away, and you, now, did you go into a placement?
Yeah, I
Was
went
that your
to
first
youth
time
emergency
being
shelter.
arrested, or?
No, I went to the youth emergency shelter. Then I went to Northern Homes for Children, which was a group home up there on Ridge Avenue.
Okay.
But then all I was trying to do was get back to my best friend, so I ended up running away from there and running the
Yeah.
streets. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you ran the streets. Okay. So so cool. So you started running the streets from there. So
Yes.
now, when did that curve come when you started really hitting the streets? Because you still had your family, correct?
No, once I ran away from home, I didn't really have much family at all because nobody was really with that rebellion. Like, you know what I mean? I'm running away from somebody that's taking care of me. That's how they looked at it. So they just, and a lot of people didn't know what was going on because it was an embarrassing situation. You know what I mean?
Wow. And in which way would you say it was an embarrassing situation? Because there's a lot of things that go on in households
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of youth are just not comfortable with sharing. A
They,
lot of youth are just going to bottle a lot of these things up. A lot of youth will rather hurt themselves, or perform themselves bodily harm.
mm-hmm.
You know, um, put lashes on their arms, and do certain things in which is probably a little blind to the guardian or the parent in the household, because they're busy doing other things. So, in what way was it kind of embarrassing, if you don't mind sharing? And
It's
what way was it kind of embarrassing?
not as far as me, but as far as my family being informed about the situation. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I was already broke off from my family once my mom and my dad broke up. Period. You know what I'm saying? Then
Mhm.
the fact that my dad was on drugs at that time, and it just was a difficult situation that the out and not even that the rest of the family. That's just how they felt. Like they take care of their immediate family, and it was like everybody else is for their own, which is really how it is nowadays anyway. Like people take care of their immediate family, but they're not really worried about the extended family as far as nephews and cousins, and you know what I mean?
Got you. Because now I remember, and I can recollect, like, back in the day, families were a lot more structured.
Yeah.
You had your grandmom, you had the siblings, which was your mom and the brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, and things like that. You knew who your first and second, third cousins were, but nowadays it seems like that's erased. But going back to you, um, so you said that you separated from your family a little bit. You started running to the streets, getting into the streets. So did this allow you, when your family turned their back on you, did this allow you to start turning to the drug scene, selling drugs,
It wasn't.
committing robberies? What type of things led to that?
It wasn't. I wouldn't really say to the drug scene. That would just turn me to me actually being family with people that wasn't my blood relative. This is how I fell into me actually having my story and me being who I am, from me having my best friend and his family accepting me as family. That was my my first street family right there.
Mm-hmm.
From his aunt and his mother loving me like a real child and knowing my
Mm-hmm.
situation. Then that grew into the rest of their family loving me like a real family and considering me family. Then that grew into people in the neighborhood treating me as family. You know what I'm saying? And it grew from there.
Wow, so it grew from there.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, and that's deep. It's powerful because when you look at a lot of like perhaps like gang life,
Mm-hmm.
like I've come up in the prison system where there was a lot of gangs, from the Latin Kings, the Bloods, the Crips, Peace don't like it was a lot of gangs that were going on, and a lot of times, and I was cool with a lot of the leaders, like um and we would walk the track and we would talk and things like that. And a lot of times, what a couple of them would say, they would say, growing up, like in the environment that they were in, it was more so they felt more loved by people outside of their family than the people within the household. You see what I'm saying? They felt more loved by the streets
Mm-hmm.
than what they felt, you know, um, and again around their own personal and blood family.
That's what I'm
So,
saying. I'm a testimony to that myself because I got people out there in
mhm,
that that treated me as family for over 20 years. I got
yeah,
uncles out here, Uncle Pint, Uncle Ed,
uh-huh,
that showed me more love than any of my biological uncles on this earth. You know what I'm saying?
gotcha,
And to this day,
gotcha.
it's the same. Like
Until this day,
they
and
family.
I'm not going to lie, and somewhat, and I mean, I've never been in a gang before, but somewhat, I've grew and learned that sometimes that feeling, like you said, you can't resist it because you have other people that may have cared for you way more than your own family because your family is always on you. Your
And then
family is
my
always telling you
situation,
things. But
my
go ahead.
situation is an isolated situation because I'm not like everybody else. Like when I got into selling drugs, I was around 16 years old. My dad had did what he needed to do, went through the sessions to get me out of the care of DHS, so he got custody of me. I was staying with him,
Hmm.
Southwest, and I sold drugs because my father was on drugs. He was using my food stamps and my clothing allowance to buy drugs. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm
Okay.
sitting there hungry, no clothes, no haircut, and I fell into selling drugs on the strength that people came to my house to smoke drugs and do drugs anyway. My dad's doing
Hmm.
drugs upstairs or downstairs anyway, and
Yeah,
I'm sitting
yeah,
here hungry. So the first people to feed me were drug dealers. You understand what I'm saying? They
yeah,
come
yeah,
around. Wait a minute, you ain't eat tonight. Your pop ain't feed you. Nick, rest in peace. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
Come
yeah, yeah,
around there and say, listen, every night he makes sure I eat $10 for the Chinese store. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he served
Cool.
that, so he gonna make sure I eat. Then he started making sure I got something to wear. Like, you know what I mean? These the first
Wow.
people that gravitated to me that took care of me when I was in a desperate situation at 16. And then they gave me a way to make money for myself. So that's how I fell into, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So at what point, even though trickling up to that point, you were throwing rocks at the prison bars. You were throwing rocks at the prison gate. You were throwing rocks at the prison door. So at what point did you finally land yourself into jail or state prison?
We gotta be talking about you said 16 and I was 30, 34 when I went to prison. So we talking about about 20 years, over 20 years later.
So you
During,
never been arrested or never been to jail,
I've
to county jail, or
I've
anything
been
since then?
arrested a lot of times before that, but I never got convicted of a crime. You know what I'm saying? But it was always
Okay.
weed crimes and you know what I mean, running around with
And they
weed.
released you. Yeah,
No
yeah.
serious crimes that I ever had until I was over
Gotcha.
30. Mhm.
Okay. Cool. Wow. So when you did when you finally when things caught up to you. Not sure if you went to prison for drugs or anything, but what was that like when you first did get convicted of a crime and was sitting in the state prison?
Well, actually, that's another isolated situation. When I first got convicted of the first time I got convicted of a felony, uh, it was unlawful. It was a railroad because of the county that I was in. So the
Mhm.
bottom line is, I got pulled over in the vehicle, and supposedly for speeding. And during this stop, this officer asked me he asked me to sign a permission to search the vehicle. So I
Mhm.
read that it was just a warning and to sign the warning, but I read it and it said permission to search. So I said, "Why are you telling me this a warning and it's permission to search my vehicle? What you trying to search my vehicle for? What I do wrong? Why do you even want to search my vehicle?"
Yeah.
Said, "Just sign the paper." So I said, "No, I'm not signing that." So he slammed the clipboard on the trunk, right? He went back, huddled up with his partner, and then he brought me back to his partner, and then went and got a dog out the car and ran the dog around the car and tapped on my car and made the dog jump on my car and said the dog hit, and then went and put the dog away and searched my car. Went in the trunk of my in the hood of my car and found the bag inside of my hood and arrested me. That was the first time I ever got convicted of a crime.
Wow. Wow. So throughout those years, even before the conviction, as you said early on, you were brought up with certain different moral aspects. You know, your
Mhm.
family had a good family, but then you was on the streets. But
Yeah.
now, why do you think it took you so long to go to prison? Were you ducking it, or were you doing the right thing?
Well, all my life I worked. Ever since I was able to work, since I've been 16, I've been working jobs. I worked over
Mhm.
35 jobs my whole life. I never worked at jobs for a long time, but I always get a job and I always try to stay with a job. As a child, I worked from 16 up to 21 years old straight,
Mhm.
each 20, 25, 30 jobs. I get to a job, I find a job. If I don't feel like I'm being respected or valued, then I leave. You know what I'm saying? I never stay nowhere long because I never find a place where I'm actually getting paid what I'm supposed to be getting paid or getting treated with the value that I feel like I deserve. So I always stay moving through jobs. You understand what I'm saying? But I always stay with one.
Got you. So let me ask you this: so the lessons that you were taught early on, do you at this point believe or wish you would have took heed way back then, or would you not change nothing at all?
Honestly, a lot of these opportunities that's available was not available when I was that age. You understand what I'm saying? And these kind of opportunities were available then, I
Yeah,
know that I would have made different kind of decisions then. I didn't have things at my disposal at that time to make these kind of moves towards positive. But they got so many things available to us nowadays. It's the same things don't apply no more.
won't even apply. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I think of some of the things, like I said before, even though my family taught me certain things,
Mm-hmm.
I still really didn't listen because again, I had no role model. I had no father in my life. The streets was pretty much the closest thing that I enjoyed. You know what I mean? Because I had people similar peers doing things. Of course, some of them had more than what we had. Now, I'm not saying that my household was dead broke. I mean, don't get it twisted. The lights got cut off before. You know what I'm saying? The gas got cut off before. You know what I mean? You had to heat the house with the oven at times. So it's not like again,
Oh
could
no,
it
I
have
want
been
to say this
could it
thing.
have been worse? For
Excuse
me,
me.
could it have been worse? Yeah, it could. I mean, for other people, yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, when your family tell you, yo, don't go to that house, don't go to that weed house, or don't go to that house in the corner, don't stand in the corner, don't hang out with these people, don't hang out with that person. I don't get a good vibe from this person. But you still tend to do it anyway because you just want to fit in. Like, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of it, I believe, a lot of it does have to do with peer pressure as well. You know what I'm saying? So now what you was about to
Uh,
say, I'm sorry.
so I was talking about this reform system and this systematic racism as far as that first conviction that I got. Because I went, if you, I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with the law terminologies, but when I went to my preliminary hearing, I was charged with possession with intent, and
Your arraignment.
in my preliminary arraignment, my case was dismissed. Can you understand that? For
Okay,
lack of
okay.
what's the name? You know what I'm talking about?
Well, go ahead, say it again.
Lack of lack of sufflatia.
Okay, go ahead.
You know what I'm talking about?
I think I heard the terminology,
So
but
the
yeah, but
bottom
go
line,
ahead.
my
It's
case
okay.
was dismissed. 2 days, 2 weeks later, they refiled the same charges, and now they charge me with constructive possession. They refiled the same charges again. Are you
Yeah.
understand? Now they don't give me no court date when they refile the charges, but now they send me out a court date in the mail that I never got. And next thing you know, I got a bench warrant. Now
Wow.
when I go to the courts to get my bench warrant lifted to get another court date,
Yeah.
and they arrest me and they revoke my bail to say I'm a flight risk. Then I go
Mm.
to court and I get a black juror, and they take the black juror off and then put a white one in the place. And I go to trial, they found me guilty with no evidence, no proof that I even had knowledge of anything that was in that y'all found in the car. Because how can I have knowledge of something that's inside of a hood if I'm
Yeah.
just driving the car? But you're making me
Understand.
have knowledge of it anyway, and now you're convicting me and sending me to state prison the first time I got convicted of any crime in my life.
And what year was that?
2016.
Oh, so you just went to trial. You
Mm-hmm.
you went to prison 2016. I was just coming off a bid in 2016. That's the Dang. So you just really started the bidding, but hopefully you finish with the bidding.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's not something to play with to see people
No,
go
it's
in and out, in and
mm-mm,
out, in and out, and
not at
they're
all.
just, you know what I mean, have no source of thought. Because a lot of times people don't understand, even when you do decide to go in and out of prison, that pushes you back.
It does.
Anytime you go in and you get a new state number, it pushes you back more and more each year.
But
And
honestly,
then
you
on
can
top of
say
that,
that
it
everybody,
stacks. It
this is necessary for a lot
Yeah,
of people because if this doesn't happen to a lot of people, then they're going to end up in a coffin. You know what I'm saying? Or they're going to end up going to that jail cell and never coming out again. You know what I'm saying? And I would have much rather went in for the year that I did that time and the couple years that I did do versus me going in there and never coming out for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? Or for me to go into the dirt and not even seeing tomorrow. So I gotta appreciate being in jail and the transformation that it gave me being in there.
absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
as you just mentioned, even going in there, learning the lessons you learned, coming out, you know, understanding what it is to turn society. Now, tell me this. Now, what were like some of the main challenges? I know we spoke about this before, but some of the main challenges of when you did spend those couple years in, what were some of the main challenges of when you did come home? Like just in general, like what were you expecting when you came home versus what was against the reality of when you came home?
One of the biggest challenges they tried to throw in front of me immediately, every home plan that I shot to them, they shut them down. And they made the weirdest reasons. First, they try to say they got a permit to carry or they got firearms. So they filled the paper out and said I'll relinquish my firearms so he can come to a regular home. Oh no, that's not legal. And they're like, well, if I'm relinquishing my firearms, well, I can't relinquish my license. You know what I'm saying? But there'll be no
Mhm.
firearms inside the residence, so why he can't stay here? They canceled that. Then
Okay.
the second time they canceled it is because a bar was on the corner. The third time was because the crime rate in the area. So every time they found a reason, whereas though I got triple RI granted to me, but y'all made sure that y'all put me into a CC center to whereas though I'm still in prison for that amount of time anyway. So y'all
Mm.
triple RI there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Wow. So okay, so housing was one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But however, even though in most cases, even though if they don't approve your housing plan or your home plan per se, they still will release you to at least a halfway house.
Yes.
Correct?
And then that was the next problem, the condition of the halfway house. I'm in there, people smoking K2. It's pissy, it's stink, it's spiders and bugs and roaches.
So it's a
Guard
challenge.
they're talking to you real dirty. You're doing count time 3 times a day. You got to stand up next to your bed and say your state number. And like it was basically being, and then when you get in there, you're locked in there all day. You can't come outside at all. So
Gotcha.
you're going through a process to get in and then you're stuck in there. The only way you're getting out is if you're going to work. So that was really being in jail on a work release, basically.
Gotcha. So, what was another challenge that you had?
Finding employment with the state felonies on my record.
So finding employment
Yeah,
with
because
the
the
state.
jobs available were jobs that I can't physically do because I ride screws in my legs and everything else, so I couldn't do a lot of physical demanding jobs. And anything higher than that involved you not being a felon, having certifications that I don't have. So I was stuck with the bottom jobs.
Oh, so due to certain conditions,
Yes.
health matters, um, it's like more so like it limits you in
Hmm.
what you could do.
Yes.
That's okay. So, what other type of challenges you may have had?
Just adjusting to living in this world on the minimum amount of money, no money, people looking at you different, people treating you differently, to the point where you can try to look at yourself the way you want to look at yourself, but you only can look at yourself in reality on how people treat you. The resources that you had at your disposal before, when you had some money, people treating you like they wouldn't even do nothing for you. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Same people that would have jumped off the window for you. You understand me? And it was just like, just dealing with that mentally and
yeah.
coping, not being able to see my children because my children's mothers, they're in all different relationships, and I'm stuck not being able to see them and getting pushed to the side by them asking me for money and me not having them, and them basically not letting me see my children because I don't have no money, and dealing with that psychologically. You know what I'm saying?
So throughout this process, so did you feel as though you were like an outcast or an
It's
outsider,
all around the
just
board.
the, just the way people always treated you?
Kids, the workforce, everywhere, all around the board, just alienated and just made to feel insignificant, basically. You know what I mean?
Wow. So how did you deal with that emotionally?
The only way that I got through it is the same way I got through prison with the power of God. Every
Mm,
go back to God. Like I literally tapped in, got on my knees, and said, God, just help me. I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to be out here just sick, running around crazy maniac. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And I just prayed to God on a regular basis, and it really pulled me to the point where He pulled me out of those trenches. Every time my mind fell into them slumps, He found me a way out. He connected me with different people to pull me to a different vibration, a different thought process, just to keep elevating me to the level where I'm at right now.
Wow, wow, powerful. And it's very profound that you say that because most times some people I've seen, that spent a lot of years in prison come home and they're not able to survive. They say that they can't do it. They come to a place that was structured and in order to a place where it's like anything can happen. You know, um, I tell people all the time, and there we knew the portions that we were getting. Out here, you have such a variety with things. It's like it's just like a totally different world. And I tell people all the time, though, even transitioning from a halfway house may be a good deal because it helps you transition
Structure.
slowly.
It help you keep that
Structure. Keep the
I had to
structure.
realize that the faster you go out there and get around everybody and get your privileges to do
Fast
shit,
you get
trying to
caught
look
up.
like you're not on parole. You are on parole. When they run in this house, you're not getting no bail. You going to jail for real. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So let's keep everything into perspective. That if I didn't go to the halfway house first, the, I sat in that halfway house and I watched a lot of people that I grew up with
Yeah.
from a child sit there and get on their way to doing 15 to 30 years, 30 to 60
Wow.
through life, and then 10, 20 years. And I'm just looking like, you mean to tell me you put me in jail all this time to separate me from these people? And then when I
Wow.
just get ready to get back to them, you put me right near them, but you put a barrier in between us. And then you got them right gone,
Wow.
right in my
Yeah.
face.
It's deep. It's deep. And a lot of times, like you said, we overlook these things, these hurdles and things like that. But and I know we coming up on a 30-minute mark.
Okay.
So if you were able to tell a young person or somebody that's going in the wrong direction something, a word of advice, a piece of information, what will you tell them right now to the camera?
First thing first, I'm going to tell them believe in God and keep a relationship with Him. that's personal, that you can talk to him about anything, and you got to try it. And whatever you believe in, ask God to show you what He wants you to see, and then He'll start to move on that note right there. You don't got to do nothing else. That's the first step right there. Talk to God, ask Him to show me what you want me to see, show me what you want me to believe, and He will start talking to you some kind of way, for sure, if you repeat that prayer all the time. The second thing is just to take the time to clear your mind. Put the phone down, put the cameras down, put the social media down, and just go into your own mind. Some straight silence, just think, reflect on your past, reflect on your present right now. Think about things you want to do, and just pull yourself together. Like I get the same message for so long, but when you really try it, and you breathe, you take deep breaths and hold them in for as long as you can and let them out slow. It really works. It calms your mind, it calms your body, and then just taking that time to yourself, it'll change everything.
Got you, got you. And we appreciate that, Tony Lee. Definitely appreciate that. And I know that we're coming up here on the end right here. You know, of why we learn lessons, we never learn them early on, but we pretty much shared, multiple things, concerning the reentry, concerning, lessons just in general. Um, and my advice, like especially to individuals that are throwing the stones at the jails, that are going in that wrong direction, that are like, at the point to whereas you feel as though life doesn't matter anymore. Let me tell you something. Before you consider risking it all, throwing it away to one of these prisons, throwing it all the way, just so you can hurt your loved ones, that's going to be there crying for you at your court dates. You better second guess that. You better second think that, because I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty when you go into these jails and the food is horrible. It's not going to be pretty when you got to share a bathroom that where a share. It's going to be an actual bathroom where you're going to have your bed next to the toilet, where another man is going to be sitting here dumping by your head. So it's not going to be pretty with these things. You're going to lose your girlfriend. You know, you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose a lot of things. So second think that, you give it a second thought, because I'm telling you, it's going to be worse off. So just reconsider who you're hanging around, reconsider the things you're allowing to be poured into you each and every day, and reconsider again the things that you're doing, because it's not worth it.
Not at all.
Tony Lee, what you say?
It's not worth, none of it's worth it. In the long run, I didn't know. So honestly, I could attribute this to me not really knowing the real feeling of jail. And then I think about like just how he gave me a taste of it and let me actually have a chance to come back out here. Some people don't get that. Some people go to jail one time and that's their last time getting locked up. You understand what I'm saying? That's it for them.
Right.
So, some people get time like I just got. They might get 3 to 6 years and get in there and
Yeah.
somebody stab them and kill them. Some people
Yeah.
get three
Yeah.
to 6 years and they end up stabbing somebody and doing life off of that. Like, and they ain't even
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
to do 1 year of jail yet, and they got to get ready to do life now. Like, or
Life.
they
Yeah. I've seen that. I've
get
seen
their,
that happen.
yeah, I seen it.
I've seen that happen where they got into the mix with their homies in the jail, and
Mm-hmm.
here it is. He was supposed to go home on a 2 to 4,
2 to 4
turned around and got a life sentence over that. A life sentence over that. But again, it's your host Keenan Hudson with the Reentry Connect podcast. We just spin the track real quick here with Tony Lee. Just talking about lessons that are never understood early on. I know that a lot of parents, can relate to this, to a lot of the children out there in the world. But I hope that y'all received, just some little information. We just spent the track a little bit, nothing much. But again, that's what it is. Spin the track Wednesdays. But I want to thank Tony Lee for coming in to join, just to share. Tony Lee, if you want to give some little accolades, what you're working on, or how they can reach you.
Okay, you can find me at Tony Lee on the IG, TonyLee. My YouTube channel is Tony Lee Philadelphia Freedom Fighters. That's Tony Lee 267 on the YouTube, and then my email is TonyLeePhilly@gmail.com. So you can hit me at any one of those sources and access me and come network with me.
Thank you so much. Okay, appreciate it. Then you got Miss Johnson here. She says, "Thank you. Keep your head up." We appreciate you tuning in, all the viewers. Thank y'all. Even the ones that didn't comment, we appreciate y'all as well. Y'all go ahead. Y'all have a good night, and we hope to see y'all soon. Definitely Reentry Podcast. If you don't already have it, please get the episodes, download them. I'm sending the links out to everybody. Get it on music, Apple. You can get on Spotify. It's on all the platforms, things like that. So I appreciate all the support. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Go to that YouTube channel as well. YouTube Keenan Hudson. You'll find me. All you gotta do is Google it. Go
Thank
to
you.
that YouTube channel and subscribe for me. Subscribe, like, share, comment. All right. So everybody, y'all have a good night.